Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, so have you ever caught yourself just staring at the ceiling, vividly imagining this incredible life you want? Like seeing your success so clearly you can practically taste it, but then when it actually comes time to do the hard work, you just completely freeze? You tell yourself, oh, tomorrow is going to be different. And then tomorrow comes and you do the exact same thing all over again. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're breaking down the psychology of a very specific, and let's be honest, a very frustrated group of people, the ambitious but lazy. We're going to look at the deep psychological patterns keeping you stuck, and more importantly, how to finally break free from them.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why do you dream so big, but do nothing? This right here, this is that painful, super frustrating gap between your ambition and your execution. You know you're capable of more, right? You are literally full of great ideas, but you just stay stuck in place. And it's an agonizing way to live because you can see your potential right there in front of you, but you just can't seem to make yourself move toward it. We so often look at this gap and think, well, it's a moral failure. I'm just lacking something fundamental. But what the research and the psychological analysis actually show us is that this isn't about lacking intelligence or talent at all.
To understand why, let's look at a timeline that probably mirrors your life right now. 8 a.m. You wake up with the absolute best intentions. Today is the day you finally start that project. But then, you just check your phone for a second to see one notification, and suddenly it's 1 p.m. and you're 3 hours deep into a Wikipedia rabbit hole about, the history of cheese. Half the day is completely gone. You feel kind of tired, unmotivated, so you tell yourself you'll start after lunch, or hey, maybe tomorrow when you have more energy. Then the cycle just repeats until 11 p.m., where you're lying in bed feeling deeply, deeply guilty. You're disappointed in yourself for wasting another day, promising tomorrow will be different. That guilt is just exhausting. And this pattern? It might have been going on for months, or honestly, even years.
Part 1. The diagnosis, inside your brain's survival mode.
Look, we need to shift the blame right now. This is not about you being inherently flawed or just a bad person. You're living in this constant state of internal conflict because of deep patterns in your brain that have been built up and reinforced over a really long time. One part of you sets goals and imagines success, but another, much older part of your brain is literally pulling the emergency brake. And that brings us to the true definition of what we so casually call laziness. It's not a character flaw. It is your brain's survival mechanism. Your brain is quite literally wired to avoid short-term discomfort and seek immediate pleasure. When you think about working on your big, ambitious goals, your brain actually sees it as a threat. It sees effort, uncertainty, and the very real possibility of failure or rejection, and your brain hates all of those things. So what does it do? It offers you an easier option, like scrolling on your phone. When you do that, your brain rewards you with a hit of dopamine. The discomfort temporarily vanishes, and your brain learns that avoiding your goals makes you feel safe. You aren't lazy. You are just in survival mode.
Part 2, Shattering the Illusions. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we break down the false crutches we use to justify our inaction.
While your brain is busy protecting you from short-term discomfort, our minds are out here creating these super convincing illusions to excuse doing nothing. And this quote perfectly captures the first major illusion. You might be telling yourself that you just have incredibly high standards, right? You have such a clear vision of success that anything less feels like a total failure, so you wait. You wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the ideal conditions. But spoiler alert, perfect never comes. The truth from our source material is actually pretty striking. Perfectionism is not about high standards. It's just fear disguised as excellence. It's your brain giving you a free pass to never start. Because think about it, if you never start, you never actually have to face the terrifying possibility that your ideas might not work out or that you might not be as special as you thought. The second delusion? That's the myth of motivation. You probably think that successful people wake up just bursting with energy and motivation every single day. And if you just had that magical feeling, everything would change. But the reality is starkly different. Motivation is literally just a feeling, and feelings come and go. You cannot build a life on a fleeting emotion. What you actually need is discipline. Discipline isn't some rare genetic trait you're just born with. It's a structured system. It's something you build block by block through one small decision at a time. Expecting to always feel motivated before you work is an absolute trap. And man, here is a particularly harsh truth that we really need to confront: the content trap. You're likely consuming massive amounts of content right now, reading articles on productivity, listening to podcasts about success, maybe even watching explainers just like this one. And it feels amazing, doesn't it? It feels exactly like progress. But it's not. It's actually just another incredibly sophisticated form of avoidance. Your brain is tricking you into believing that learning about the work is the exact same thing as actually doing the work.
But let's be real, you don't need more information. You already know exactly what you need to do.
Which brings us to a fundamental misunderstanding we have about success and failure. We tend to think that failure is the opposite of success, but it's not. Inaction is the true opposite of success. Here's the reality of the situation. When you take action and fail, you actually learn something incredibly valuable. When you choose inaction, staying in the cozy safety of your fantasy without ever testing it in the real world, you do nothing, and you learn nothing. Every single successful person you admire has failed more times than you have even tried. The only difference? They took imperfect action. Part 3. The prescription. Action and systems. Let's move to and see how this builds into the actionable structural changes you actually need to break this cycle.
So now that we've diagnosed the problem and shattered those illusions keeping you stuck, we need a real prescription to fix things. How do you actually go from someone who dreams to someone who does? Well, it requires accepting the hard truth that you will probably never feel like doing the hard work. You just have to do it anyway to rewire your brain, and that requires structural changes. The very first part of that prescription is your environment. Your environment controls you far more than you probably realize. Overcoming avoidance is not a willpower problem, folks. It is a design problem. If your phone is sitting right next to you, you're going to check it. If your desk is a total mess, you're going to feel scattered. You have to design a system where the default action is the productive action. Turn off your notifications. Physically put your phone in a completely different room. Clean up your workspace. Set a specific, sacred time for focused work and protect it like your life depends on it. Every single time you remove a distraction, you remove a tiring decision, and you save all that precious energy for your actual goals.
The second part of the prescription is all about how you actually start. Look, do not try to change your entire life overnight. That's just that sneaky perfectionism talking again. You need to start microscopically small. Step 1, pick one tiny task. Maybe it's literally just working for 15 minutes or writing a single paragraph. Step 2, and this is absolutely crucial, do it terribly. Give yourself permission for your first attempt to be a complete and utter mess, a rough draft. You aren't trying to be great right now. You are just trying to start. And step 3, do it again tomorrow. Discipline is going to feel terrible at first, and your brain will fight you on it for sure. But by taking these tiny, imperfect actions, you are slowly teaching your brain that discomfort isn't actually dangerous. Consistency always comes before quality.
Now, as you start taking these steps, you are absolutely going to mess up. You'll have days where you fall right back into those old patterns. And when you do, you must remember this. Guilt does not motivate you. Shame does not make you better. Beating yourself up as you lie in bed at night, that only reinforces the cycle of avoidance. You need to practice extreme self-compassion. Forgiveness isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about freeing up your essential energy. It gives you permission to just try again tomorrow without dragging the heavy weight of all your past failures with you.
And that leads us to a really vital shift in how you view yourself. You need to separate your true identity from your recent actions. There is a massive difference between who you are and what you do. Lazy is not who you are. Who you are is someone with dreams, immense potential, and the very real ability to change. Lazy is just what you've been doing. What you've been doing is simply avoiding discomfort, mostly because your brain hasn't learned yet that this discomfort is exactly what leads to growth. You are not broken. You are just stuck in a pattern. And the beautiful thing about patterns is that they can be changed. Which brings us to the single most important number right now. 1. The goal right now isn't to plan out some massive 5-year roadmap or wait around for a magical burst of inspiration. The goal is to take just one single small action immediately after this explainer ends. I mean it. Close this screen, put the device away, and do one tiny thing that moves you forward. That one step is going to teach your brain that you are actually serious this time. And if you take one more step tomorrow, that momentum will really begin to grow.
So, I leave you with this final thought. You understand the psychology now. You know exactly why you've been stuck, and more importantly, you know exactly how to break out of it. But remember, ambition without action is just a fantasy. Nobody is going to come save you from yourself. You are the only one who can step out of the fantasy and finally into reality. The choice is yours right now. Will you keep dreaming, or will you start building? Go be that person starting right now.